Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a quick look using palette 4. By the way, I am Natty in case you don't follow me regularly. And I'm just going to use the Addiction palette 4 from Younique for the eye look, and then I'm going to pair it with palette 6 for the brows. I really like to use that dark brown for brows. So I have a eye in mind. I'm also going to be using a red lip to pair that with. It is Super Bowl Sunday and we live in the Kansas City area, so of course we're rooting for the Chiefs, so a red lippy is a must. So I'm going to start off with the eyes. I always like to do the eyes first just because then if you have fallout you can clean it off before you do your face and you don't have to go through with like cleaning up any mistakes or anything. So I like to use eye primer. You can use concealer, it works pretty well, but eye primer, just the formula of it does a little better at making sure the eyeshadow stays in place and doesn't crease. So if you have like hooded eyes, this is going to prevent it from creasing. And I've compared both and it just works a little bit better. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of that. You really don't need a lot. I take about that much on my ring finger, dab it on the other finger, and then apply it directly with my fingers and rub it out. I always like to then go ahead and set the primer just because it works a little better to have the shadows put on there. So I'm just going to put some powder, and I'm using the Airspun powder. And I take it directly on the little poof that comes with it and just set that in place. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to go in with palette 4. Let me look at my cheat sheet here real quick. So I'm going to do, you're going to want a crease brush. If I could find mine, I'm going to use just the blending brush from Younique. It looks like that. This one works well with powders, but it works a lot better with creams and liquids. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So we're going to go with the shade Cheerful. And that's this like greenish gray. I don't know if you can see it in the light. So I'm going to grab some of that. With eyeshadow, you want to think less is more. You can always apply more color if you need it, but just start out less and build that up. So, and I do windshield wiper motions and then circle motions to kind of blend that product in. Whoops, part of my mirror fell off, so that's fun. It's one of those that has like the little round attachment to it. So that's the piece that fell off. So I like to do both eyes at once, just to knock them out. Okay. So after you've done that, you're going to stay with this same brush. Actually, we're going to switch to a flat shader brush. I'm going to go for the lid first. Let me see if I have a clean-ish one. Sorry, I'm blocking you guys. Okay. I have this thing, it's called a color switch. You guys should totally invest in it. It is awesome to clean your brushes in between colors. So I'm going to go in with the shade Honest, which is kind of the silver gunmetal right there. And I'm going to apply that one to the lid. So we're going to take that color and just apply it to the lid. And I like to do what we call packing the color down. So you're pushing the brush down into the eye to get that color on there. You're not swiping it because swiping it is not going to let the color really sit on there. So dab, dab, dab that color on. Then I'm going to go on the other side and do the same thing. I have my ring light on. I don't know why. Is that a little better? We'll see. I'm also recording on my computer, so the camera is lower, which is like really interesting because I'm used to looking up right at my phone on the stand. But we're gonna roll with it, guys. Roll with it. Okay, then I'm gonna go into what we call the outer V, which is just right here and into the crease. So I'm gonna take a smaller crease brush, and I like to use, if I could find it, a brush kind of like this. So this one's from Urban Decay. It came in a palette, and I just pull it out and use it. But just something like this. It's still fluffy, but it's a little smaller, so you can get in that area. So what I'm going to put on there is the shade Triumphant, and that's the darker color here in this palette. So right here, kind of looks black, but it's really like a dark bluish gray. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that. Again, you don't need a whole lot of color. You can always build that up. And I start doing that diagonal line right there, and then I blend it into the crease like that. Again, less is more. You can always build that color back up. Like that. And this look is perfect for like daytime, nighttime. You can always do a little more of a heavy hand at night, or add some falsies, or lots of liner and lots of mascara, and then you have a nighttime look. And then I'm going to skip that until I've done my face. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to do my face. I've already got serum, moisturizer, sunscreen, which is very important. And I'm going to do a primer. I'm using the Hydrating primer. My face is pretty dry, so I like to do the hydrating. You really don't need a lot, like half a pump like that is more than enough. Primer is important to keep your foundation in place, and then like if you have dry skin, it'll prevent foundation from sticking to your dry patches. If you have oily skin, it'll prevent you from getting oily and having that makeup rub off. So it's very, very important. Skincare is probably the most important, and then followed by primer if you want that perfect makeup look. So we're going to do that. For foundation, I'm going to use my spray foundation, and I am using the shade Scarlet. And you give it a couple shakes, and then you do 2 sprays, and 2 sprays cover each side of my face. So in total, for a full face, I do 4 sprays. I spray away from the camera because I don't like to get my camera wet, but all covered in makeup. So I do one side of my face first. Do you guys ever make weird faces when you're doing your makeup? I know I do. For some reason, I feel like it helps to do silly faces. Go. Then a couple more sprays for the other side of the face. And I always dab all sides first before I start blending, just to make sure I'm going to have product for all of my face. And I do circle motions. And then blend that. If your foundation doesn't quite match your skin tone, you want to make sure you blend it down into the neck so you don't get that awkward like line right there where you can tell the difference in the 2 colors. I'm going to actually see if I can clip you guys up higher. Maybe. It's kind of hard to do. Oh well, we'll figure that out for the next video. Clip down. Maybe I can clip you to this mirror. Maybe. That's a little better, I guess. Okay. So blend that. So now that that's done, before I set that with powder, I'm going to put this brush aside, and then I'm going to do some concealer, and I am using the Younique Mineral Touch Skin Perfecting Concealer, also in the shade Scarlet. Scarlet is the lightest one we have. I like to put it on my hand first, just to warm up that product. It helps it spread on the skin a little bit better. So that much. and then just dab it with my ring finger. And then I apply it directly with my ring finger to the under eyes. You can also use this, you know, wherever else you need coverage. I have pretty good skin that the foundation covers most of my needs, so I don't really need a whole lot of other stuff. Also, I recommend you keep either baby wipes or a towel at your desk. That way you can, you know, clean that stuff off and you're not getting it everywhere. So I'm going to use a brush like this. This one's from Tarte. It's double-ended. This is supposed to be for foundation. I don't really use that one, but I love this side. This is more for concealer. And as you can see, it's kind of angled, so it helps you get under there. So I use that and I dab, dab, dab. Make sure to really dab that. And then if you do put a lot of concealer and you're doing kind of that triangle to brighten up, you want to make sure you're blending down here, because sometimes you'll get lines where you can see where the concealer is. It's really bright in here, so you can't really see where that line is, but I'll show you right here. So that line right there, you want to make sure that is all blended out, because people will be able to tell. I also take the excess concealer and put it on my nose to reduce some of that redness. In the inner corner, if you wear glasses particularly, do not skip the inner corner, because that's where our glasses pull the darkness in. So you want to be sure you take care of that. Okay, before I do powder, since I'm going to do a red lip, I'm going to actually put a little bit more of that concealer on my lips. That's going to help the lipstick stay on. I did exfoliate my lips just a tiny bit, but they're still kind of dry. So we're going to go with it. And then I use that same brush. Okay. Now that that's set, I am going to go and set everything. So I'm going to take this again, get a little bit of that powder, and put it underneath the eyes. That helps kind of bake it so that it's going to set real nice and hopefully not crease quite as much. And then for the rest of my face, I just use a big powder brush like this. And I have some powder on the lid. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swirl it in there. Tap it off a little bit and then swirl again. And then I try to focus the powder on my nose because it's a place that I rub a lot. So start there. Do not talk and do this, because then you will be inhaling powder. Like that. Then if you need to grab a little bit more, grab a little bit more. Do that. And then on the lips to set that concealer that I put on there. Okay. So now we are going to move on and do our brows. And for that, again, like I said, I like to use palette 6 because it has the perfect color for me. So if you have dark hair like me, this shade, Audacious, is the perfect brown to fill in your brows. So you can use an angled brush or you can use a small liner brush. I like to use a liner brush. So I like to use a brush kind of like that. Can you see that? And then I just dab it into the color. And then I do small strokes. And then the other side as well. And I try to do it as natural as possible. I don't like to darken them too much. And I don't like to overemphasize my brows. I try to just fill in the shape that I have naturally. And then you can also go through with a spoolie. And that's just going to brush that color through a little bit more. And then I like to set them, and I am using the Colourpop Brow Boss Gel. And this kind of just helps set that and give it a tiny bit more color. Okay, after you've done that, we're going to go back into palette 4. So back into palette 4, and I'm going with an angled brush. And what I'm going to get is the shade Tender, which is the shimmery champagne color. And I'm going to put it on the brow bone as a brow bone highlight. So right there. And that kind of helps clean up any messes as well. And then I'm going to put it in the inner corner to brighten up that look. Again, remember we talked about inner corner being important because you need to brighten that up if you wear glasses. Like that. Now we are going to do a tiny bit of contouring. I'm going back to palette 6. If you have fair skin like me, this shade Enthralled, this one right here, is the perfect contour shade. So I like to grab a little bit of that just on the edge of this brush. This one is from Sephora. So just a tiny bit, and then you can either do the fishy face, or I just move my mouth to the side. I know it's really weird, but that's how I like to do it. And I focus it on the outer part of my face because I don't want to, you know, my face is already a little narrow. I don't want to make it too narrow, so. And then I'm going to spin the brush, and I created that line. Now I'm going to blend it up so it looks a little smoother. And do the same thing on the other side. Spin the brush. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with my bronzer. And I'm using the Beachfont bronzer. This is in the shade Malibu. And I have an angled bronzer brush like that. And I just use both colors. I know there's a lighter and a darker. I just go right on the middle, use both colors. And I'm going to put that on top of that contour. And I won't go all the way in. So I'm going to start from the outer side. So kind of like that. And then I'm going to actually grab a little bit more and then pull it into the forehead and then make sure they connect like so. And then do the same side, the other side. And you can move your mouth and everything if you need to as well. Like that. Now for blush, we are going to go back into palette 6. And we're going to use the shade Blazing. I know that looks really intense for blush, right? But we're just going to dab a tiny bit of it. Like, you really don't need that much color. Like that much. And then tap the excess. And I'm just going to focus it on the apples of the cheeks and blend into that bronzer. And it just gives you tiny rosy cheeks. Let me see. I might turn off this main light because it's washing me out and you guys can't see the color. So give me 1 second. Can you see that color now? Hopefully. I can see it in person, but for some reason it's not translating to camera. Sorry guys. I'll try to take a picture and post it if you follow my Instagram. All right, now for highlight. For highlight, I am using the Touch a la Mode Cream to Powder Luminizer. And I like to apply this directly with my ring finger. And I just focus it right here. Just like that. And just a tiny bit, remember, less is more. So start with a minimal amount, and then if you need to build it up, you can. I like kind of a dramatic highlight, so then I like to go back in with a powder one. And I use a fan brush. And just grab a little bit. And just pop it on top of that cream highlight. So there's that. I'm still missing lashes and lips, but what I like to do is I like to set everything with my spray. So Behold setting spray. And I like to do this because if you do this after your mascara, I end up with raccoon eyes. So if I do it before, then there's no problem and I don't have to fix that. So you probably don't need that much. I just like everything in excess. So let's finish up eyes and then we'll do my lips. So I'm gonna go in, I wanna add some liner. So I'm using the Moodstruck Precision Liner. This is in the shade Presumptuous. I don't know if we still have this one. I know it was discounted at one point, so I'll have to double check that. If not, you can just use a black one and it looks just as fine. So I'm just gonna do small strokes. Now remember not to tug your eye because that'll cause wrinkles later on. So small strokes. I don't have contacts on, so I cannot for the life of me see what I'm doing. But that's another reason why small strokes help. Like that. As close as you can to the lash line. Then I'm going to do the other side. There you go. Now I'm going to finish off the lashes. I'm going to use my Moodstruck 4D mascara. And first thing I'm going to do is curl my lashes. And this is just the Tweezerman lash curler. I tend to press it several times before I let go. Same thing on the other side. And I really like this one because it really grabs the majority of your lashes. Okay. And then I'm going to do a couple coats of this. Wipe off the excess. Anybody else open their mouths like they're shocked when they're doing the mascara? I feel like it helps for some reason. So I do one coat and then I move on to the other eye and then I do, you know, multiple coats like that, but go back and forth. So if you left the look just like that, it's pretty wearable for the daytime. But if you want to go nighttime glam, then you add that red lipstick. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do the red lipstick. I'm going to line my lips first. I'm just using this MAC lip liner and Beet. And I like to do the Cupid's bow first. And then I like to start from the bottom and line up. That way the line is nice. I've noticed that if I start at the top and go down, then I underline, I don't know how to say it, but I don't do the full lip line, so. Okay. I like to fill it in because it just helps the color stay on a little bit better. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go in with my lipstick, and I'm just using the regular bullet lipstick. And this is in the shade Stinkin Rich, and I typically apply it directly from the tube. You can also use a lip liner if you're more comfortable with that. A lip liner won't apply quite as much color as if you do it directly from the tube. And you may have better control with a lip liner, or lip brush, not lip liner, Jesus. I just like doing it directly from the tube. So I start at the top. As you can see, I turn my lipstick based on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing the bulkier part of the lip, so the fatter part of your lip right here, I do it like that. But when I'm going to do the sides, I'll turn it this way. It just helps me. One last thing you want to do before you're done is you want to blot that lipstick. So I'm going to use my towel. You can use a tissue, whatever you have. So first I do open mouth and then just dab the lipstick, and then I'm going to I'll show you. It's better if I show you. So dab the excess, and then you're going to fold it. And there you go. One last trick for your lips, if you want to make sure that you're not going to get your teeth, is, this is really awkward, but it works. You'll stick your finger in your mouth, and then you end up cleaning up the inner parts of your lips. So anyways, that's the full look with palette. As you can see, the eye look is pretty appropriate. You could use this for work and then just add in the bright lipstick for a night out. So anyways, thank you guys for joining me. Let me know if you have any ideas of different looks you want to see, or any types of videos that you'd like to see, and I'd be happy to do that for you. Bye.